So now we're going to talk about fiduciary responsibility of being a founder. Um, I know it makes me sound old and like a lawyer, but it's actually, I think, a really important thing to think about as you're starting a company because, you know, uh, obviously starting a company, there's a lot of fun things, a lot of hard things about starting a company, but fundamentally it's a serious business, and there's actually a lot of people involved and a lot of interests you have to balance and manage uh, as a founder and an entrepreneur. And in many cases, you have a fiduciary responsibility to those people. What does that mean? A fiduciary responsibility means being ethically bound to act in the best interest of that party. So, first of all, you certainly have a responsibility to your employees and the people who work in your business. You are ethically required to think about and care about how they do, the time they're spending working for you, and making sure that they receive fair compensation and fair development for the time they spend. You have a fiduciary responsibility to your investors, people who give you capital. You have a responsibility to be careful with it, to try and return it, and help them achieve the goals that they had when they invested in your business. You have a responsibility to your customers. Your customers frequently have trusted you to complete a project, or trusted you to deliver software that you promised, or trusted you with whatever your business happens to be in, and you have to pay attention to and care deeply about delivering on that. And sometimes those interests aren't aligned. You actually have to wear different hats, right? Especially if you're on the board of your company. On the board, you have a fiduciary responsibility for all the shareholders. The shareholders aren't just investors, right? Those are your employees as well, and they're you as a founder. And you have to sometimes figure out how best to balance everybody's interests that are involved. And the key to bringing it up is that it's important to actually care about it and think about how you treat everyone in this role, because you have to become over time a trusted person, a trusted arbiter between these parties, because it will be good if your investors have seen you historically care about their interests, so that at one point when you're unable to or unwilling to, because actually you think the interests of the employees outweigh their interests, they'll be willing to sort of go by your judgment. And on the flip side, if there's a case where employees feel like they're getting shortchanged by a decision, they'll be willing to understand because they trust you. I mean, being a fiduciary fundamentally is about being trusted. And that is a very, very key aspect. I think it's also, there are things you can do throughout your company, things in your culture that will help people develop that trust as well. One of those things, for example, is how you treat people that you are not a fiduciary to, like how you treat people outside in the world. Specifically, think about, how do you treat your competitors? How do you talk about them? How do you treat people that have gone to work for them? What kind of words do you use? What kind of conflict are you trying to create inside the company? Do you sort of just discuss them in hyper negative terms? Let's say you have an employee that actually was working for you, everything was great, and then they left, and all of a sudden you're just bad mouthing them in inside the company, and everybody hears it, and that just becomes part of the culture. How trustworthy is that? How much of a fiduciary do you think I would want you to be with my money or my career or anything that really matters to me? I think most entrepreneurs don't think about those things up front, but fundamentally, when you start a company, a corporation, you are aggregating a lot of diverse interests, and you're setting yourself at the helm and claiming to be capable of balancing all of these interests that sometimes are divergent in a fair and equitable way. And so you have to think about that and make sure that you really can be fair and equitable, and that you project that demeanor consistently throughout the course of your business, because at some point down the road, things will fall apart if you're unable to do that. That's an important part of being a founder and CEO, and it's an important part of starting a sustainable long-term business.